Hi, this is Diane Lovetobake on YouTube, and what we're going to make are cookies. These particular cookies were a request of a friend that requested no eggs, no butter, and no milk. So I started looking and researching to try to find a recipe that I could make for this individual, and I got this one, and I guess it can be called poor man cookies, or it's a form of really oatmeal cookies, okay, with brown sugar. And it's really quick, it's easy to make, and if any of you have followed my channel, you know I like recipes that are really easy to make and fast to bake and get them done, but still you want them great tasting. Well, this cookie is great tasting. Well, I no longer write down the recipe or the ingredients and the amounts below the video, and I'm sorry about that, but I'm going to go through it hopefully slowly enough and clearly enough that if you want to jot it down, you're going to be able to get the recipe, okay? So first we're going to start off with shortening. Now, I know by a lot of your requests and folks that have written to me and whatever, some people do not like solid shortening, okay? And I understand that. So this might not be the recipe for you. I also have people that have written from other countries that tell me they can't even purchase solid shortening. So again, this recipe, well, unfortunately would leave those folks out too. But the solid shortening, I think, gives a very crisp baked good or cookie in this case. So it does have its advantage. It really does. If you like it and you can get it and you want to try it, okay? So start off with 1 cup of solid shortening, and just I'm putting that into my mixing bowl. Now you can use your hand mixer if you want. To do it by hand, it can be accomplished. It just takes a lot of elbow grease, that kind of thing. The next thing you're going to be putting in is 1 cup of brown sugar. Whether you use light or dark, that's up to you. I went ahead and left it like this because I wanted to remind myself to tell you that it means that it is packed, okay? So I'm going to take that 1 cup and I'm going to break it up with my fingers. All right. The next thing you're going to be putting in is a 1/2 cup of granulated sugar. Now once you do that, then you really want to bring it all together. You want to cream it, and it could take you anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. Of course, I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to bore you while you're waiting for me to do that. So, and I want to warn you about the sound of the mixer because it can be loud on your end, okay? So every time I turn it on, I'll give you a heads up. So I'm going to turn it on for a little bit and get this blended and creamed, okay? So heads up on the sound. Okay, now of course I used a higher speed than I normally would. That's going to be up to you, but you do want to spend at least that 2 or 3 minutes, and then as we go along working on the wet ingredients, again a completion of probably a total of 5 minutes. The next thing you're going to be putting in, you need water, and you'll need 1/4 cup of water, and that's what's going to keep these cookies very moist. The next thing you're going to be putting in is a teaspoon of vanilla. Now if you find when you're making these cookies, once they're combined, if it looks a little bit dry, I would suggest to try an additional 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla, or a 1/2. I've done both and they've come out great. They might not seem too dry to work with, then don't worry about it. But if it does, and it just seems dry to you, go ahead, try that 1/4 of a vanilla teaspoon, and I think it can help, okay? but not always necessary. All right, the next thing is combining the dry ingredients. You're going to need 1 cup of all-purpose flour, and you're going to need a teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon, okay? And I was just looking for I have a little whisk, but I'll use a spoon, and I'm just gonna, just mix it in a little bit. You don't have to be fussy with it. The next is 1/4 teaspoon of salt, okay? And then I'm going to just start turning on the mixer, heads up, and start blending the dry with the wet. I'm just going to do a little at a time. Okay. Now, the last thing that you're going to be using is oatmeal, and you need 2 cups. Now, this is the regular. This isn't the instant, just the regular that I'm using, okay? And again, I'm just going to put a little at a time, give you a heads up on sound. Okay, again, I went to a higher speed just to move it along. I'd probably be using about medium. And now all I'm going to do is try to make sure that everything's cleaned on the sides of this bowl and that it got to the bottom, the paddle got to the bottom, okay? And this is the part where I told you if the batter and the dough rather seems a little too dry to you, you can, actually just pick it up and you can kind of tell if it has enough moisture in it. And I believe this does. So I don't think it's going to need 1/4 teaspoon of additional vanilla. Okay. I'll probably get the question, well, what if I don't have extra vanilla? Can I use water? If you do, just put a little at a time. What's nice is if you had to, add moisture, you're adding flavor too. So rather than water. Okay, so now I'm just going to bring it together, check that bottom of the bowl, and show you what this dough, cookie dough, looks like. Okay, it is a semi-sticky dough. It's not a dry dough, but it's not real sticky, about medium. Okay, now you're going to need, of course, a baking pan. And you can go ahead and either grease your pan. If you're going to spray it, make sure you spray heavily. And I'm just using my parchment paper. Now, I'm making the size of the cookie. This is the size that I'm using. And I believe it probably is about 2 tablespoons, around that area. If you don't have a scoop, then use a tablespoon, that kind of thing, okay? And you can also make these cookies smaller too. And then do spread them apart, because they are, when they bake, they're going to flatten out on you. So you really want them to have the space. So give them about, 3 inches apart, that kind of thing. You don't want to crowd them. I like using the scoop because I find that the baking is more uniform. They tend to look nicer on the presentation of the cookie, that kind of thing. And I'm not going to bore you by putting down cookies on parchment paper because that's pretty self-explanatory, okay? And what you also can do is just give them a little gentle tap on the top. You don't even have to, but I kind of prefer that, to give them kind of a running start, because they are going to flatten out and they're going to spread, okay? Now, what else I want to tell you real quick is that you can make them a smaller size. If you go with about 1 tablespoon, because this scoop, as I said, is about 2. If you go down to, I believe, like a tablespoon, you could get about 3 dozen cookies out of it. You really can, which is a lot. But I like to make the bigger one, so I want to show you. Let me wash my hands quickly here, rinse them. And then we want to talk about cookie size and that kind of thing. All right. And this is how, oh, and also, I'm sorry, preheated oven at 350 degrees. And the large size will run you, which I just showed you now on the parchment paper, those are the large, anywhere from 12 to 16 minutes, because you know our oven's set up so differently. So I usually start watching mine really at around 10 minutes or so. I just quickly look, close the oven quickly, because you don't want them to be dried out, that kind of thing, okay? Also, when you take them out of the oven, let them sit on the pan for a couple minutes, because they're very delicate and they'll just break up for you. And then transfer them to your cooling rack. But this is how they turn out. And as you can see, they're a nice size cookie that I put them in the palm of my hand. They will have a hard finish on the top and on the bottom. They will bake up to a nice medium or light to medium golden brown. Same thing on the edges, okay? They will have a regular shape around them. They usually won't come out perfectly, you know, with a complete, you know, nice, perfect circle. Now, when you break into them, though, you will see that not only are they crisp, but they're chewy. They are really absolutely delicious. And I don't know if you can even see that. I'm going to take this and, you know, I don't know if you probably can't see it in the camera, but press on it, how moist they are. And the chew of this cookie, oh, these are great for dunking, you know, in milk or chocolate milk or white milk or coffee. Oh, or cappuccino. They are great tasting cookies, because I like that they're crisp, but yet they're chewy and they're moist. They're not real wet cookies or anything like that once you bake them up. Now, if you like this size, then go ahead and use, as I suggested, that scoop or that tablespoon idea. If you want to make them smaller, like this, then go down and make, you know, like I said, you want to use a less amount of the cookie dough. Okay, the same thing. They'll bake up the same color, that kind of thing, and they really are delicious. I prefer the larger of the size, so that a person really feels, you know, they're getting a cookie, you know, when they go ahead to eat one. But it's up to you, okay? I will put the amount of how many I got out of this recipe, but unfortunately, someone in my family has already gotten to eating them, so I'll give you a total and I'll write it below the video how many of these large cookies I got. Also, as a suggestion, you can put them together with your favorite vanilla ice cream or any flavor ice cream, and they make a wonderful ice cream sandwich, especially for the summer months coming up ahead. They really are delicious cookies, and if you like oatmeal, well, it's even a bigger plus to give these this cookie recipe a try, okay? So I want to ask you also to remind you, if you have a question or a comment, or you try this recipe and you like it, I'd love to hear from you, and I'll answer in a timely fashion. I want to thank you for watching Diane Lovetobake. YouTube is the only place I put my videos on, so if you write to me, I'll get your question, I'll get your comment, okay? And if you'd like to subscribe to the channel, well, I can't thank you enough, or give the channel, the video a like. So Thanks again for taking the time to watch Diane Lovetobake on YouTube. Stay well, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.